I was invisible. Not literally, but in the Shadow Paw Pack, if you weren't born into power, you might as well have been a ghost. My name is Kira Ashenvale, 23 years old, Omega rank, which in werewolf hierarchy means I'm barely considered pack at all. I worked in the palace kitchens, stone floors, endless corridors, the smell of roasted meat and fresh bread mixing with the cold, ancient scent of the castle that had stood for 800 years. The Ironmoor Fortress, home to the Alpha King, Thuron Blackwater. Just saying his name made people lower their voices. He was the kind of leader who didn't need to shout to command a room. 6'4", scarred jaw, eyes like molten amber that could pin you in place from across a crowded hall. He'd united 7 packs under one banner through strategy, strength, and ruthlessness. And he'd never once looked at me. Not that I expected him to. But that was about to change. It was the night of the lunar ceremony. Every 50 years, the ancient rites were performed. The entire pack gathered in the Great Hall. Warriors, elders, nobles, even us kitchen Omegas were allowed to watch from the shadows. The ceremony centered around one object, the Moonsever blade. It hung in the center of the hall, suspended by silver chains above a pedestal of black stone. The blade itself was massive, nearly 4 feet long, etched with runes that glowed faintly blue in the dark. The hilt was wrapped in leather so old it looked petrified. Legend said it was forged by the first Alpha King 1,000 years ago. Blessed, or cursed, depending on who you asked, by the moon goddess herself. The rules were absolute. Only the true ruler could lift it. Anyone unworthy who touched it would be burned, scarred, marked as false. For centuries, it had been a symbol, a test. Every Alpha King had lifted it during their coronation to prove their right to rule. Thuron had done it 20 years ago when he took the throne at 18. But tonight wasn't about him. Tonight, the blade was glowing, brighter than anyone had ever seen. I stood at the back of the hall with the other Omegas, pressed against the cold stone wall. My friend Myra gripped my arm. "Something's wrong," she whispered. She was right. The blade was pulsing, the blue runes flickering like a heartbeat. The high priestess, an ancient woman named Seraphine, stepped forward. Her white robes dragged across the floor. Her voice echoed. "The Moonsever calls." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Thuron rose from his throne, his jaw tight. I could see the tension in his shoulders even from across the room. "What does that mean?" someone asked. Seraphine didn't look at him. Her milky eyes were fixed on the blade. "It means the goddess has spoken. There is one among us who carries her blessing, one who is meant to wield the blade." The hall went silent. "That's impossible," Thuron said. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "I am the Alpha King. I've already proven my worth." "Then prove it again." The challenge hung in the air. Thuron stepped forward, no hesitation. He climbed the steps to the pedestal, reached up, and wrapped his hand around the hilt. Nothing happened. He pulled. The blade didn't move. His eyes widened, just for a second. Then his expression went cold. He pulled harder. Still nothing. The crowd started whispering. Panic, confusion. Thuron let go and stepped back. His hand was unmarked. The blade hadn't burned him, it simply refused him. "Who else carries royal blood?" Seraphine asked. One by one, the high-ranking wolves approached. Thuron's beta, his cousin, the heads of the noble families. None of them could lift it. Some were burned, red, blistering marks across their palms. They stumbled back, hissing in pain. Others, like Thuron, were simply rejected. The blade glowed brighter. Seraphine turned to face the crowd. Her voice was like gravel. "The Moonsever will choose. Step forward if you feel the call." I felt it before she finished speaking. A pull. Low in my chest, like a hook had caught behind my ribs and was tugging me forward. I tried to ignore it. I had no business stepping forward. I was nobody, an Omega. I didn't even know who my parents were. I'd been found as an infant on the border of pack lands, wrapped in a burned blanket with no name, no family, nothing. But the pull got stronger. My feet moved. Myra grabbed my arm. "Kira, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I walked forward. The crowd parted. I could feel their eyes on me. Whispers followed me like smoke. "Who is that?" "An Omega." "Is she insane?" I reached the steps. Thuron's gaze locked onto me. For the first time in my life, the Alpha King was looking directly at me. His expression was unreadable. I climbed the steps. My hands were shaking. The blade was beautiful up close. The runes weren't just glowing, they were moving, shifting like liquid light. I reached out. The moment my fingers touched the hilt, everything changed. Heat exploded through my hand. Not pain, power. The runes flared so bright the entire hall was bathed in silver light. I heard gasps, screams. The blade was burning. But not me. It was burning silver. Flames erupted along the edges. Cold, silver fire that didn't consume, didn't destroy. It just was. I closed my hand around the hilt. And I lifted. The blade came free like it weighed nothing. The chains shattered. The pedestal cracked. I stood there, holding the moonsever, and the entire hall dropped to their knees. All of them. Nobles, warriors, elders. Even Thuron. The Alpha King knelt before me. His amber eyes were wide, not with anger. With recognition. Seraphine's voice cut through the silence. "The true heir has returned." I didn't understand. I looked down at my hand, the one holding the blade. The runes had spread. Silver markings now covered my skin, winding up my arm like vines. Ancient symbols I couldn't read but somehow knew. And in the reflection of the blade, I saw my eyes. They weren't brown anymore. They were glowing. Pure silver. The same color as the moon goddess herself. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, Thuron's voice rang out. "Who are you?" I didn't have an answer. But the blade did. It pulsed once, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the stone floor. And then I heard it. A voice, not out loud, inside my mind. "You are the daughter of the first queen, the bloodline we thought was lost. You are the moon's chosen, and you will reclaim what was stolen." I looked at Thuron. He was still kneeling. But now I understood why. He wasn't just acknowledging power. He was acknowledging the truth. I wasn't an Omega. I was his superior. And everything he'd built was about to crumble. The hall erupted. Voices overlapping, shouting, confusion, fear. I stood frozen, still holding the moonsever blade, still feeling the silver fire crawling under my skin. Thuron rose slowly. His eyes never left mine. "Impossible," he said quietly. But there was no conviction in it. He'd seen what everyone else had seen. Seraphine stepped forward, her staff tapping against the stone floor. The bloodline of Queen Alara was thought to have been extinguished in the betrayal wars 600 years ago. Every heir was hunted, killed, their names erased from history. She turned to me. "But the moon goddess protects her own. One child survived, hidden, passed down through generations in secret, and now the debt is due." My head was spinning. My voice came out hoarse. "I don't understand. I'm nobody. I was abandoned. I don't even have a last name." "Ashenvale is not your name," Seraphine said. "It was given to you by the wolves who found you. Your true name is Kira Moonshadow, daughter of the first queen's line, the rightful heir to the silver throne." The room went deadly silent. The silver throne. It was a myth, a story told to pups, the original seat of power before the Pax fractured into war, before the Alphas rose and the old monarchy fell. Thuron's jaw clenched. "The silver throne hasn't existed for centuries," he said. "The Pax system replaced it. We don't have queens anymore. We have Alphas. Strength, merit, not bloodlines." "And yet," Seraphine's eyes glinted, "the blade chose her, not you." Thuron's hands curled into fists. I could see the conflict in him, pride, rage, but also something else. Respect. He'd built his entire rule on being the strongest, the most worthy. And now, in front of his entire court, he'd been rejected by the one symbol that legitimized his power. "This changes nothing," he said. His voice was steel. "I've led these packs for 20 years. I've kept them safe, united. One girl with a glowing sword doesn't undo that." "She's not just a girl." The voice came from the crowd. An elder stepped forward, Counselor Aldrich, gray-haired, sharp-eyed. "If the Moonsever accepts her, then she carries the moon's blessing. By ancient law, she has the right to challenge your rule." Thuron's eyes snapped to him. "You want to return to the old ways? Queens and courts and political bloodlines? We tried that. It led to chaos, civil war. The packs were nearly destroyed." "And your way is better," Aldrich's voice was calm. "You rule through fear, through force. The packs obey you because they have no choice. But they don't love you, they don't trust you." "They don't need to love me. They need to survive." I felt the blade pulse in my hand. It was warm, alive. And it was angry. Not at me, at him. I didn't know how I knew that, but I did. Enough. My voice cut through the argument. Everyone turned to look at me. I took a breath. "I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm this air you're talking about, but I do know one thing." I looked at Thuron. This blade didn't choose me to start a war. It chose me because something is wrong. His expression shifted, just slightly. "What are you talking about?" I closed my eyes, listened. The blade was whispering, not words, feelings, images. Darkness spreading, a rot in the foundations of the pack, something ancient, something hungry. I opened my eyes. "There's a threat coming, something old. The blade is trying to warn us." Seraphine's face went pale. "The Voidborn," she whispered. The temperature in the room dropped. I didn't know what that word meant, but I felt the reaction. Gasps, fear. Thuron's entire body went rigid. "That's a legend," he said, but his voice was shaking. "So was the Silver Throne," I said. "So was the Moonsever choosing anyone other than you." He stared at me. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then he spoke. "If what you're saying is true, then we don't have time for power struggles. We need to find out what's happening, and fast." He turned to the crowd. "This ceremony is over. Counselors with me, everyone else return to your quarters." People started moving, slowly, reluctantly. Thuron looked at me. "You're coming too." It wasn't a request. 20 minutes later, I was standing in the Alpha King's war room. A massive table dominated the center. Maps covered the surface. Territories, borders, pack lands. Thuron stood at the head. His beta, a wolf named Cade, stood to his right. Seraphine and Aldrich flanked the sides. And I stood across from him, still holding the blade. I'd tried to put it down. It wouldn't let me. Every time I set it on the table, it would hum, and my hand would start burning until I picked it back up. Apparently, I was stuck with it. "Tell me what you saw," Thuron said. I described the images, the darkness, the rot, the sense of something waking up. Seraphine nodded grimly. "The Voidborn were the reason the first queen sealed the Moonsever blade in the first place. They're creatures of pure corruption, born from the spaces between worlds. They feed on life force, on pack bonds, on magic." "How do we stop them?" Cade asked. "You don't," Seraphine said. "Queen Alara didn't stop them. She sealed them, locked them away using her own life force and the power of the blade. But seals don't last forever." "How long?" Thuron's voice was clipped. 600 years, give or take." The room went silent. "So you're saying," Aldrich spoke slowly, "that the seal is breaking, and the Voidborn are coming back." "Yes. And the only way to stop them is for the true heir to reforge the seal, using the Moonsever blade and her life." All eyes turned to me. I felt my stomach drop. "Wait, what?" Seraphine's expression was pity. The blade chose you because you carry the bloodline, the magic. You're the only one who can do what Queen Alara did. By dying. By sacrificing your life force to power the seal. Yes. I set the blade on the table. This time, I didn't care that it burned. No. Thuron leaned forward. Kira. No, I said again. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be some long-lost heir. I didn't ask for a magic sword or a death sentence. I'm not doing it. If you don't, Aldrich said quietly, the Voidborn will consume everything. Every pack, every wolf, every living thing in their path. Then find another way. There is no other way. I looked at Thuron. He was watching me, not with anger, not with judgment. With understanding. She's right, he said. Everyone stared at him. There has to be another option. Queen Alara sealed them 600 years ago, but she had time to prepare, to research. We don't even know where the seal is breaking or how fast. He straightened. We're not sending anyone to die until we've exhausted every other possibility. Seraphine shook her head. You're risking everything. I've built my rule on strength, Thuron interrupted. On making hard calls, and I'm making one now. We find another way. He looked at me. And until we do, you stay close. You're under my protection. I don't need your protection. You're carrying the only weapon that can kill a Voidborn. Yes, you do. The blade pulsed. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. Maybe we could win this. Maybe I didn't have to die. But deep down, I knew the truth. The blade hadn't chosen me to save the world. It had chosen me to pay the price. 3 days passed. 3 days of research, interrogations, ancient texts pulled from the vault beneath the fortress. And 3 days of me learning what it meant to wield the Moonsever blade. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a bond. Every time I held it, I could feel the moon goddess's presence. Not a voice, not words, just knowing. I knew when danger was near. I knew when someone was lying. I knew things I shouldn't have been able to know. And the blade was teaching me. How to fight, how to channel my power. Thuron had assigned Cade to train me. But after I disarmed him in under 30 seconds, without even thinking about it, he'd stepped back and let the blade do the teaching. She's a natural, Cade had said. She's connected, Seraphine corrected. The blade is using her as a conduit. It's not her skill. It's the goddess working through her. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to survive. On the 4th day, everything changed. We found the breach. It was in the Northern Territory, a place called the Hollowmoor, a stretch of dead forest that had been abandoned for decades. The scouts reported strange sightings, shadows moving wrong, animals fleeing, and a smell rot and sulfur. Thuron assembled a team. Warriors, elders, me. We rode out at dawn. The Hollowmoor was worse than I'd imagined. The trees were black, not burned, drained, like something had sucked the life out of them. The ground was cracked, the air was thick and wrong. And in the center of the clearing was a tear. Not a physical tear, but I could see it, a rip in the fabric of reality. Darkness poured out of it like smoke. And standing in front of it were 3 figures. Not wolves. Not human. Voidborn. They were tall, skeletal, wrapped in shadows that moved like liquid. Their eyes were hollow, empty. And they were looking right at me. Thuron's hand went to his sword. Stay behind me. No. I stepped forward. The blade was screaming in my hand. Not fear, recognition. These things had killed Queen Alara's family, had tried to destroy the world. And now they were back. One of them spoke. Its voice was layered, 1,000 whispers at once. The air. We smell her. The bloodline. I raised the Moonsever. The blade ignited. Silver fire roared to life. You're not welcome here, I said. The creatures laughed. Welcome, we were here first, before wolves, before the moon, before light. We will be here after. They moved. Vast. Inhumanly fast. Thuron's warriors charged, swords swung, claws extended. But the Voidborn didn't bleed. Every strike passed through them like smoke, and every time they touched a wolf, the wolf collapsed, drained, lifeless. I ran forward. The blade guided me. I swung. The silver fire connected. And the Voidborn screamed. It recoiled. A chunk of shadow burned away, actual damage. The other two turned on me. I didn't think, I just moved. The blade was an extension of my body. I slashed, spun, blocked. The silver fire carved through the darkness like a knife through silk. But there were too many. The tier was widening. More Voidborn were coming through. Dozens, hundreds. We were going to lose. Thuron grabbed my arm. We need to retreat. No. I pulled away. The blade pulsed. And I understood. I knew what I had to do. Kira, don't. I raised the moonsever above my head. And I stabbed it into the ground. The moment the blade pierced the earth, everything stopped. The Voidborn froze. The tier shuddered. Silver light exploded outward, a shockwave of pure power. I felt it rip through me, my life force, my magic, everything I was. The blade was drinking it, using me to fuel the seal. I was going to die. But then, hands grabbed mine. Thuron. He'd grabbed the hilt above my hands. His eyes were glowing, amber fire. You're not doing this alone, he growled. His power flooded into the blade, alpha strength, life force. Then Cade stepped forward, grabbed the hilt. Then Seraphine. Then the warriors. One by one, they placed their hands on the blade, pouring their strength into it. The silver light turned blinding. The Voidborn shrieked. They were burning, dissolving. The tier began to close. I could feel it, all of them, their loyalty, their courage, their willingness to sacrifice. The seal didn't need just me. It needed all of us. The light reached a crescendo. And then, silence. I woke up in the fortress. My body ached, every muscle screamed. But I was alive. I sat up slowly. Thuron was sitting in a chair beside the bed, his head resting in his hands. When he heard me move, he looked up. His eyes were tired, but relieved. You're awake. Did it work? He nodded. The seal is restored, stronger than before. The Voidborn are gone. How? You figured it out, he said. The blade didn't need one life. It needed a bond, a pack bond. That's what Queen Alara didn't understand. She tried to do it alone. But the moon goddess's power isn't about one person. It's about unity. I looked down at my hands. The silver markings were still there, but faint now, like scars. What happens now? I asked. Thuron stood. Now we rebuild, together. He held out his hand. I don't know if you're ready to be a queen, and honestly, I'm not ready to give up being king, but I think we could rule together, as equals. I stared at him. You're serious? The blade chose you, the pack saw it, and after what you did, they'll follow you. He smiled, just a little. Besides, I think I could use someone who's not afraid to tell me I'm wrong. I took his hand, and I pulled myself up. Then let's get to work. The moonsever blade now hung in the center of the great hall once more. But this time, it wasn't alone. 2 thrones sat beneath it. One silver, one black. And for the first time in 600 years, the Pax had a queen again. Not because of bloodline, but because she'd earned it.